Hello and welcome to Just a Moment with my very special guest, Aurora the Empath. And today we're going to continue our discussion about protecting our energy against all sorts of different energy roars. And when I say an energy roar, I'm talking about somebody that makes us feel unsettled or less confident or just not quite ourselves. Would you agree?
I agree completely.
And pop over here to the comments just to see if anybody wants to ask any questions. Please know that you are welcome to do so, and we will answer them as we are very, very live. Well, what would you like to start with? I have tomes that I have researched and many pages of notebook notes
Mm,
the old fashioned way because, I'm old. So I still write everything down on a notebook.
That's
And
beautiful.
and I was thinking maybe we should like define the difference between confidence versus narcissism.
I think that's a good start
Yeah.
because there's a
I
fine
think
line there.
right. And we don't want anyone thinking that we're doing anything other than for entertainment and education purposes. Um, and we don't want anyone thinking that we're pointing fingers. We're just both at the point in our lives where we are seeing how we are have
Mhm.
been affected in our lives by this and how we not only survived it but thrived eventually. I
And
will
learn
say
from.
eventually, in the learning process of who we are
Mhm.
thriving. Would you agree?
I agree.
So,
There's a reason for everything, but we'll get to that later.
right. Well, let's start with confidence versus narcissism. Confidence is a genuine belief in your own abilities accompanied by empathy for others.
Hmm.
Narcissism is an inflated sense of self importance, and they have a need for excess admiration, a lack of concern for others' feelings, whereas a confident person values their abilities without devaluing others. A narcissist prioritizes their own self image above all else. A confident person is comfortable with their strengths and their weaknesses, but a narcissist is primarily focused on their own greatness, and they may exaggerate to maintain their superior image.
Absolutely.
So, validation, confidence comes from within and doesn't require external validation from others to feel good about themselves. But a narcissist needs admiration and validation from others to feel good about themselves. Confidence stems from self acceptance and respect for others, while narcissism stems from deep seated insecurity and a lack of empathy. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree. Confidence, you feel good from within. You make yourself feel good. You don't need
Right?
others to do it for you. But a
Right?
narcissist
Exactly.
can't seem to do it
Continue.
for themselves.
A narcissist can't do that for themselves. Is that what you said?
No, they can't. I'm
Right.
not sure if it's a defect in the brain, a defect in the uh, raising process. Nature versus nurture has always been a debate, but I think it's a little bit of both. It's sort of an umbrella term, but we'll get to that later too.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, we were talking about narcissists, we were talking about gaslighters. Did we ever get into like energy vampires? I don't remember.
A little bit, but not so much. Believe an audience member had a question. Did we ever answer that audience member's question to their satisfaction?
I believe we did.
All right.
If not, I hope they will ask it again.
I do as well.
So let's see. How do we protect ourselves from energy vampires? Or how do we spot an energy vampire? Let's start with how do we spot an energy vampire?
Well, an energy
If-
vampire often doesn't have just one target. You can pay attention to the way you feel. You can pay attention to the group vibe. Um, they're often perceived as social butterflies, but more like social vampire bats. So you can spot a draining source if you pay attention, but most people don't have the brain space and the brain peace and silence to be able to distinguish the subtle shifts.
right.
But if you pay attention, you'll see others being drained as well. So it's basically a process of elimination.
Yeah.
But most people, most humans, as a gut survival instinct, will have some sort of a wrong feeling in their gut
Something's
when
just not right.
something can't quite figure what, there's no real reason for it, they haven't done anything, but you just feel that ick, for lack of a better word, then there's usually a reason for it. It's survival
Remember?
instincts are the strongest, and that's what you'll feel the most.
Do you
Danger.
remember what I? Do you remember what I called them? Slimy soul suckers.
Slimy soul suckers, yes,
Yeah.
they their auras emit tendrils that poke into the auras of those that they're around and suck energy.
Yeah. Well, I looked up how do you spot an energy vampire, and it said if they frequently seek your attention, exaggerate their problems, blame others for their issues, and manipulate people or situations for their benefit, and it never gets better. Pretty much that's the checklist.
Wow.
There's a, yeah, there's a big difference between someone going through a hard time and needing support and someone who consistently displays toxic behaviors that affect their well-being and
And there's all
yours.
and there's always an excuse.
And if they do not stop, you have to learn how to avoid them. That's hard.
Absolutely.
That's very hard. Because when I was in the middle of my experience, I doubted myself. I had such cognitive dissonance. I
Mhm.
would think about the things that came out of my mouth and they sounded so aggressive and I couldn't figure out why. And then in retrospect, when I got away from that situation, I realized that what I had been being fed the entire time was not truth, it was betrayal. Because these people literally wait for you to mess up so they can say, see, I'm not as bad as you are.
Mhm.
And that's how they feed. And you could
Mhm.
be the sweetest, kindest, most genuine person, but you go through this and you doubt yourself
You do.
until that realization hits you of, wait, what? This isn't just in my head, is it? And then
Mhm.
you hear about other people who have encountered that same behavior in that same person. And you're like, oh, now this is making so much more sense.
Mhm.
And again, we are not doctors, we're not psychologists, we're
We're not
empaths,
trying to
and we
diagnose anyone.
No, we're empaths and we are trying to pick up um, the pieces of what we have gone through because it's almost like we have been blasted with dynamite and we are trying to pick up the shards of our souls.
A good way of putting it.
It
It
just came
is.
to me, when the children were little, my little one, Christopher, he accidentally broke a teacup and it smashed into 100 pieces. And I looked at him and I said, wow. And I wasn't mad. I was just like, wow, honey, that's going to be hard to put back together. And he looked at me and I said, yeah, when you break stuff, it's really hard to put it back together. And I said, sometimes people are mean like that. And it's really hard to put us back together again. So anytime you feel like being mean, I said, please remember this. It took me almost 2 hours to put that teapot back together, and I soaked it in milk, and it looked pretty good.
Nice. Nice.
But, you could still see the cracks. So
There's
it was a reminder.
there's a history of when things break, you put it back together with gold, and
I love that.
it's beautiful and unique, and it's better than it was before.
Yes, even more beautiful.
Yes.
So we're in our caterpillar stage, and we're becoming our, butterfly self. Because we were butterfly selves, and then we got put back into caterpillar stage.
Because you question everything, every decision
Yeah.
you've made, every judgment, because how could you have been so blind for so long?
Right? And it gets down to a point where we are actually difficult with ourselves because we say things like, well, we should have seen it,
Mm-hmm.
or why didn't I see it? And because when we are right up in it, you don't see it because confabulation, you're being driven from one point to another point to another point to another point.
And when you love that person so much that you don't want to think in your mind that they are doing anything intentionally
Right?
mean or bad to you, you always tell yourself, this somehow is a misunderstanding and I am failing to fix it. It is on me to fix everything because he's only doing this because he's misunderstood something I have said or done. And that's on me to figure out what it was so that I don't do it again and make him react as if he has no self control or choice in the
Right?
matter.
Right? Or that, we can magically know their triggers.
Yes, especially when they begin to take on yours once they learn them.
Ugh,
In order to be
that
able to say, oh, you have a headache? Oh, my headache is so much worse than yours. So that negates yours. You have to take care of me.
Wow. Do you know that there is actually a name for this?
Is there?
It's called, are you ready? Post narcissist stress disorder.
Are you serious?
I am totally, and here are the signs. Cognitive dissonance. It's not normal in other kinds of trauma, but we really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very applicable to us. One part wants to move on and can see the narcissist for who they are, but the other part asks questions like, maybe it was me, or maybe they aren't as bad as I thought, or maybe I was being oversensitive, or maybe I'm crazy, but we're not. We start remembering the good memories. It leads to massive amounts of confusion and doubt. And we have
Mhm.
trouble trusting. We have trouble trusting because
You definitely.
we are told that we are the root cause of all the problems. So this person is putting us through the worst sort of betrayal possible because this person betrayed us from the very beginning to the very
Uh,
end. There are psychosomatic issues, and I have
mhm,
experienced many of these. Physical problems without known causes is psychosomatic in definition. Pins and needles feeling, you just feel uneasy.
mhm,
You tremble or shake. You have anxiety symptoms like restlessness, irritation, anger, hypervigilance. You're always ready to fight. You can't sleep properly. You can't breathe properly. And you withdraw from the people that you love because you prefer isolation. But that looks like depression because we aren't sure if people really understand what we just went through
no one can.
until you go through it yourself. No.
And each experience is a unique sort of psychotic hell. So even
Hmm.
those who've been through something similar, it
Hmm.
helps. But there
You can,
are details that are so shameful to us that we never share with anyone unless we hear almost word for word what we've already been through. And then sometimes we can pipe up and say, yeah, me too.
and that's so hard because you know what? It takes courage to heal. And you are courageous. And my mother always said I was far too courageous for my own good. She's in heaven now, so she can't scold me for that.
I've heard the same sentiment a time or two, just not near so politely put.
Well, I'm nothing if not polite. Um,
Mhm.
Another symptom is we don't feel ready to move on. We know we can't stay, and we fight ourselves because kind of give into a grief and a sadness over it, and we become easily triggered, and we stay stuck in that lingering sadness that doesn't ease with time.
Mhm.
So, how long would you say it took you when you realized what you were in? How long did it take for you to heal once you were safe again?
I I had about a year and a half. I had to be resocialized. I couldn't even attend family events with any sort of comfort. I didn't know how to talk to people on any sort of normal level because that had become my normal. It took me a while to relearn how to live a life outside those four walls.
Mhm.
And that level of reality, because incrementally you wouldn't believe what can become normal over time
Oh,
when
indeed.
you believe that there is no other option or that all
Right?
other options have been exhausted.
Well, I watched my mother struggle with abuse in her marriage. It was my second, well, my first stepfather. I had two, and he was not mentally well, and she would become the victim of all of his rage. And I watched this, and I was like, how can someone say they love you one minute and then beat the ever loving out of you the next? And why am I, as a child, seeing this and know it's wrong, but no one's stopping them? Well, I put my boundaries up for physical abuse, but you know what? I think I forgot to put my boundaries up for emotional and energy abuse.
That's a difficult subject because parents don't know how to teach their children because they weren't taught. That was a knowledge lost long ago. It's not as if the parents are keeping that knowledge from the kids. They don't know it to begin with. They
Right?
suffer just as well. They've suffered for generations because they didn't understand themselves. That's a whole other topic we'll have to go to at
Right?
some point. But it's it's difficult. It's difficult to admit what you have allowed to happen to you.
Yeah. And
And it's
it's so
difficult to ask for
insidious.
help.
It's so insidious because it's so, I can think of one person in specific that could absolutely knock me down with a look.
Mhm.
And that was a power I only gave to my mother prior to that relationship. So, I mean, we really have to learn how to protect ourselves from that.
Yeah, we really do.
There's a few more things that it says here that we struggle with determination, that we self reflect and think about things for hours, staring off into space, wondering what happened. Did that
Yeah.
happen to you?
Oh, definitely. I still do that.
And we are asking ourselves, why did that happen to me?
I
And then
try
you
to
know what happens?
remember
Go ahead.
lining. I try to remember that there's a silver lining to everything and that there's a reason for everything. But it's almost as if you're upset at yourself because it took pounding that lesson into you that hard for you to get it.
Right.
You can
We
look
fall
back at the
into
number,
some,
you can see red flag, red flag, red flag, but you didn't see those red flags at the time. You thought they were flowers.
right? Analysis paralysis, because we reflect too much and we relive it all and we remember the good memories and we try to get our own closure because a narcissist never gives us closure.
No.
They want us always to be dangling.
Mm. Waiting for them to be done with their other toys so that they can come and pick you back up off the shelf.
Right?
And they're so confused when you're not there.
Right? And that can lead us to like the frozen response where our body freezes and we only want to sleep or we can't sleep or we keep waking up and we have nightmares and only like positive flashbacks of when we were with that person and the things were good. It's almost like a war being played in your head and you're
Hmm.
trying to find the reality.
Well, during that, I have a theory on that. During that cognitive dissonance, depending on how long it happens, there's a theory that neurons that fire together wire together. So there really is a battle going on in your brain to see which neurons are going to stay wired and which neurons are going to break and make new connections. That really is a very good analogy for it. And there's no discipline out there that can give us the tools that we need to deal with it. Each one of us has to discover those tools on our own, especially if we don't have all kinds of money to throw at a doctor.
Well, exactly. And if we remember our sovereignty, if we remember that we are safe, if we remember to stay out of situations like that with people like that, we are protecting our peace.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
remember when I said this to you yesterday? How many scars have we hidden because we loved the person that was holding the knife?
And I said my skin would be covered because we always excuse it. We always somehow make it something we did or didn't do correctly, and tell ourselves, if I had done this correctly, he wouldn't have reacted this way.
And you know what? Everybody does that, and everyone says woulda, coulda, shoulda. But if it was meant to be and it was a positive thing, we'd still be together.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Right? Exactly.
But there's a reason people say love is blind. Love blinds you to a lot of things.
It really does. You hear what you want to hear.
Mhm. Because love gives you preconceived ideas of the way things ought to be, because there's no thought in your head that this other person that you love wouldn't want to be just as happy as you want to be. And why wouldn't they want to do what it takes? Why wouldn't they want, and so you never consider that they have ulterior motives for anything that they say or do. It's
Right?
very confusing.
It is. And we tend to innocently put our good qualities onto some people that may not deserve them.
Or simply what we would do if we were in that situation, with our knowledge and our experiences and our determination and our force of will.
Yeah. And that's the hard part is we mustn't judge other people by what we would do or how we
Mhm.
would react. We have to, if they tell us who they are, we must believe them.
We also need to consider the soul development level of the people that we encounter in this world. Well, you and I, not to tout or say, okay, say one person is on rung 4 on the last soul level ladder, for lack of
Right?
a better term. You meet someone who's only on level 2. It's not fair to judge them by your standards because they haven't experienced as much as you have yet. They don't have
Indeed.
that innate knowledge. They haven't been there, done that, and there's right where they are supposed to be for their soul development.
Right.
It's something I tend to remember, need to remember.
All of these things are put into our path to see how we react to them and to learn to ask, what is this teaching us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to
We
learn
have
from
a,
everything.
we have a few comments.
Oh,
Daryl Kuhn says, Hola, I never say a hello or understand. I say, good to see you two beautiful women together having a wonderful conversation. Love to you both.
aw,
Isn't that
oh,
sweet?
that's lovely. Well, good juju right back to you.
Right. Well, then George Overton says, well, goodbye then. So apparently he didn't like our subject, but that's okay. We forgive you. Katrina Thompson Perry says, hello. Vernon Overholt says, hey. Daryl Milbauer, who is our UFO. Oh my goodness, he sees amazing things to just bring us too close to what he sees. The
Mm-hmm.
photos that he takes, Aurora, are incredible. Incredible.
You'll have to share those with me.
Oh, I'd love to. And feel I believe he's accepting friend requests.
Mm-hmm.
The photos that he puts up. Wow. So
Yes.
if I were
Well,
oh,
hello, everyone.
we're actually at the break time.
Ah, we are.
I know. Half an hour went by that fast.
It always does with you.
Oh, thank you. So
Mhm.
we are going to take our little break and we will be back with Aurora the Empath in just a moment.
Looking for breathtaking photography that speaks for itself? Whether it's the raw beauty of nature, the sleek professionalism of corporate imagery, or the infinite wonders of the sky, Donovan Pudoka captures it all. With over 10 years of experience, Donovan's lens doesn't just take pictures, it tells stories. His work is perfect for travel publications, corporate branding, artistic prints, or anyone who appreciates stunning photography. If you need high-quality images that elevate your project, Donovan Pudoka delivers. Have we sparked your interest in Donovan's work? Check it out at matrixminds/Pudoka. My eye promises you, you will not be disappointed.
Welcome to Crystal Cove and Mystic Charms, where magic meets the mundane and the extraordinary becomes every day. Are you ready to gift yourself with the whispers of ancient power stones? To the feel and hear the echoes of our ancient past? Dive into a world where each pendant tells a story, where rare stones hold secrets known only to the universe itself. At Crystal Cove, our collection isn't just jewelry. It's a gateway to a realm of mysticism and wonder. Let the shimmering opal guide you through twilight dreams, or embrace the fiery energy of the sun with our exquisite amber pendants. Each piece, handcrafted by the hands of a true mystic who understand the language of the earth and the fire of one's heart. At Crystal Cove and Mystic Charms, we believe that every soul deserves to sparkle. Whether you seek solace in the calming embrace of amethyst or wish to dance with the vibrant hues of turquoise, our collection holds the key to unlocking your inner magic if you allow it to be so. Visit us today and discover the pendant that speaks to your soul. Crystal Cove and Mystic Charms, where the beauty of our amazing earthy realm meets the magic of the cosmos.
Hey there, Hunter. Go check out our friends at Colorado Custom Game Calls. They are all about creating a high-quality, custom, unique game calls at an affordable price. They are here for hunters that can't and won't pay upwards of $180 to $200 per game call. They pride themselves on giving their customers the opportunity to not only purchase an affordable and high-quality call, but to customize their game call to their liking. So listen up and go check them out. That's www.coloradocustomgamecalls.com. They got calls for all type of game, and all the game calls can be custom made to your own likeness. That's www.coloradocustomgamecalls.com. Tell them Matthew sent you from the Matrix Minds.
What is up, all my beautiful and gorgeous souls? I am Michelle Espinosa, otherwise known as the Shaman, through the Matrix Mind Media. So tell me, how many times have you wished that you had that special power of prediction? You know, to know what was going to happen before it actually happened and took place. To have some power and control over that situation before things came flying at you out of left field. The thing is, you actually can have that power. You can be aware of what's coming. Tune in to Astrology TV with me for Breaking the Cage every Sunday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Matrix Mind Media. And I will go through the astrology and help put you on the right course and get you back in control of your own life. Love you guys.
This CBD fluid is a whole flower fluid extracted from the cannabis flower. We don't use any heat, butane, or chemicals when we extract, so we get all of the components of the plant. All the CBD, CBG, CBA, all the terpenes, all the flavonoids. This allows our body to absorb at 60 to 90% rather than the average of 6 to 10% absorption you would get with a CBD oil. Because our bodies are made up of mostly water and this is a fluid, it's highly absorbable so that you're getting 500% more nutraceuticals per dose. We also have this available in our CBD spray as well as a muscle rub with all kinds of botanicals. You're going to absolutely love it.
Check it out, Brainiacs. MatrixMinds.live/CBD. CBD I use. Feel free again. Feel alive again.
And welcome back to Just a Moment with my special guest, Aurora the Empath. And we were chatting about energy and how to protect it. And I looked down and we might actually have a troll. So we'll just have to wait and see. If the vibe stays positive, they can stay. But if not, sayonara, sweethearts. Okay, so
Hmm.
what would you say about how would you spot someone doing gaslighting?
Oh, subject shifts. Every time you make a little headway to make sense, they'll change the subject of the argument. Say something knowingly to upset you that has upset you every time they've ever said it, and then be upset that you're upset, telling you it's not a big deal, don't be upset. Get
That
over it.
leads right Yeah, that leads right into the very first one. It says you are being too, and then just insert your word because too sensitive, too emotional, too
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, too petty, too defensive.
It's become a battle
Really?
of wills.
Really? Why do they get to tell us that we're being too much of anything,
That's a good question.
right? Because what they're actually doing is dismissing our feelings and they're making us doubt the validity of our emotional responses. Over time, we are quicker to doubt ourselves, downplay our emotions, and hide how we feel, even feeling shame if we react. I was there. I knew how that felt.
It resonates quite deeply.
We should never be afraid of our emotions. Our emotions are there to warn us.
We should never be ashamed of our emotions.
Yeah.
We should
How
never
about
have
when
to
they
defend our emotions.
right? How about when they try to say, "Oh, that never happened"?
That's a difficult one unless you have proof.
Yeah. They will deny events, making the other question their memory and perception of reality, even with hard evidence. And they'll say, "You remember that wrong." No, I remember it exactly how I remember it. You have a different memory than I do,
Or you'll hear something of, well, of course that's how you took it.
right? Or it's all in your head. This is
Absolutely.
this is used to imply that we are making things up. And if they do it enough and they repeat it over time, this leads to us questioning our own reality and depending on the gaslighters, help to form our
Validation.
own opinions and ideas.
You begin to look to them for validation. I think sometimes we get there because it simply saves time to not have our own ideas, to make the narcissist believe it was theirs. There's an art to surviving a narcissist. It's not a good thing to do, but there is an art to surviving your narcissist.
Yeah, there are ways. Well, we're both living proof.
We are.
And when they say you're imagining things, because that invalidates our observations, making us feel irrational and disconnected from the truth.
It also invalidates our feelings on the subject because if we imagined one detail incorrectly, then everything we have said from that point on is invalid.
Right? Or has anyone ever said, "Well, you don't really feel that way"?
Do you? Mm-hmm.
This dismisses how we feel. It makes us wonder if our reaction is valid. The gaslighter tells us how we should or should not feel about various things, especially about their behavior.
Absolutely.
And this one I absolutely hate because this one has been used on me. I only said that because I care about you.
I only
This
did that
makes,
for your own good.
yeah, this makes manipulation look like concern. And it causes a lot of confusion because you don't know what their intentions are.
It does. When you begin to have to doubt their intentions, that's because a part of you will see it. Your subconscious will see it and it will gnaw at you until you see something. And that's when the cognitive dissonance begins. Because you want to explain that away because you love that person so much and you think that person loves you on the same level that you love them. When that person
Right.
can't even understand the level of love that you possess. Because people like that are broken for one reason or another. And I don't believe they are capable of self-love. And you can't love anyone else if you don't love yourself first.
Oh, I agree with you so much because they cannot generate their own light, so they steal ours. And we just want them to learn how to generate their own light.
But I think part of that is they demonize us so that they can feel okay sucking off us.
Yeah, any kind of justification for that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 is you took that the wrong way. Or you just can't take a joke, can you? After they said something cruel or hurtful. And then they'll shift the blame and they'll dodge accountability. And by dodging it, they'll hope that you'll either get confused or you'll drop it.
And if you don't, they become the victims who are so hurt by your accusations that now that's what the conversation is all about, how much you hurt them.
Number 8 is everyone else agrees with me.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's horrible because if everyone else agrees with them, they must be right, right?
Of course.
Even though it's hurtful and you've asked them to stop.
So everyone agrees that they should continue hurting you.
Yeah, that makes no
Basically,
sense.
that's what it's down to. As if you deserve it. You are so. They make you feel as my confidence was below the floor when I left. I don't even really know exactly how it got there. I mean, I had modeled in my past, so I should have at least had some sort of self-confidence, but my experience destroyed that.
Right. And it does, it takes a while. I remember being in a state of mind where I avoided all people except the people I absolutely had to work with at work. I
Mhm.
avoided everyone, every social situation. I didn't even watch TV or a movie for 3
Nope.
months until I healed myself from the pain that I had been dealt with, not from just one relationship, but when one ended, it triggered the remembrance of what I hadn't healed from the last time I fell for the narcissistic nonsense. And then many years passed with, being feeling safe and secure. And then I found
Mhm.
myself trapped back into it again. And it
Mhm.
happens out of nowhere. You just almost aimlessly fall into their target sites. And before
Mhm.
you know it, you either have to stand up and say no more, or many moons will go by and you just won't feel right.
You see, when you have these wounds from the past, they're very visible to those who would take advantage of them and make them worse. So when you don't heal, a narcissist just says, hey, I can see she's put up with one of me before.
Right?
See what I can get out of this one.
Oh, I hate that. I truly do. Because for me, actually for a lot of people that I know, it isolates us. It makes us. If everyone is on the gaslighter's side, then there must be something wrong with me, right?
Absolutely. I must be the crazy one. There must be something wrong with my thought patterns, my memories. I must be crazy.
Right.
Why haven't I been diagnosed with whatever's wrong with me?
Not realizing that they've been undermining our confidence and making us doubt our sense of safety in this world. Um, we might even believe for a minute that we're being too sensitive or overreacting, even if we're
Hmm.
not,
Was it really that bad? If
right?
everyone agrees that it's not that bad, what's wrong with me? Why is it bothering me so much?
Right.
Hmm?
Well, some ideas on how to respond. Remember that a gaslighter wants you to agree to their perspective, not your own. So do not try to reason with them, even though it might be tempting, because it probably won't help. But that's not our responsibility.
Because at that point, it's become a battle of wills. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. It's about wanting to win and be right.
Mhm.
For you to admit that you were wrong.
And what is the narcissist, energy vampire, and manipulator's worst fear? When we stay calm.
Hmm?
Even if we're not, even if we're confused or frightened, stand your ground.
Yes. Stay calm.
It diffuses it. It truly does. They can't get what they want out of you. Stay calm. And agree to disagree.
Yes. That's so
If a,
important.
if a gaslighter just won't let go of a subject, you can say, I remember it differently. And if they still won't let go and it turns into a power struggle, you just have to walk away. You say, no, I am unwilling to continue this conversation and walk away.
Absolutely.
We should also seek feedback and support from people we truly trust. After we have been gaslit, we may doubt our reactions and thoughts, and it can truly help us to talk to a friend or family member who can help us see how we have been manipulated.
You know, sometimes it doesn't even have to be a friend or a family member. Sometimes it can be a complete stranger online who has zero contact knowledge of your family history, and is a complete unbiased, can give you an unbiased opinion, and you just lay it all out for them. If they look at you and go, oh, then you're not crazy.
No, no,
Good narcissists will sabotage relationships in your immediate circle, but they
yes,
can't get to a stranger online.
right?
And I am sure there are women out there who would be perfectly willing to hear that story and give their opinion to help out another woman.
Absolutely. It's the sisterhood.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's, we have survived a war. We may not we may not have had guns and knives, but we had words, and they
Well,
hurt.
some of y'all may not have had guns and knives, but
You, you know what I mean,
some
though.
of us have.
Right. Oh, don't get me wrong. My favorite show on
Okay.
television and the only one I will still watch is Forged in Fire. I
Mm.
love when they make Damascus swords, etc.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a fascination with blades myself. I just don't personally carry one.
Just to play in that forge with all those tools and them like helping. Oh, bucket list.
I know, right? I want to hear Doug Marcaida say, "Your blade will kill." Oh goodness, I love laughter. It breaks all evil, doesn't it?
It
And
does.
that brings us to number 4, set boundaries. We're so afraid to set boundaries when we are empaths, aren't we?
Mhm. We are, because we know we're in the minority. We know that most people don't understand how experiences can affect us differently than the way they affect them.
Right?
It's so we just don't expect anyone to understand. So we keep it to ourselves.
But if you feel uncomfortable with someone's actions or behavior and then you ask them to stop and they don't, that's a really good indicator.
Yes. Yes. If you tell someone this particular action hurts me every time you do it, and it's not something that they need in order to survive, like eating or breathing,
Right?
once you have made it clear to them, this hurts me, and they continue to do it, that is that person telling you your discomfort is not important to me. Your comfort is not important to me. Only my own. My own pleasure is more important than your comfort.
And that breaks my heart because by definition, if I were to try and define sustainable love, it's when you feel about someone else more than you feel about yourself. Like, and this is what I mean about by this. To be very specific, you care more about them than what they could ever do for you. It doesn't even come into the equation of what can they do for me. It's how can I love them back because I am getting such a gift here.
Yes.
And that to me is a sustainable love when it's reciprocated. When
How do you make them as happy as they make me?
when your partner wakes up and says, "Good morning, beautiful. Did you sleep well?" They really care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the antidote and what all, in my humble opinion, all survivors of narcissists, energy vampires, and manipulators need is someone that they can come to who perfectly accepts them and trusts them because they have seen that they've gone through hell, but now they're going back to hell with buckets to try and put out the fires for other people. And they just want to support us in that endeavor.
It's not easy.
No.
It's not
No.
easy.
I used to hear some of the guys talking because I have good ears. And they would talk about these women with daddy issues. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what about the guys with mommy issues? We don't talk about that, do we?
No, we don't talk about that, but we have all encountered that. And at first it's, aw, he loves his mommy. But then you realize that the umbilical cord is still attached. It's just very long,
Yeah.
and that's too much.
I read something that said a narcissist is actually a broken baby. That for some reason, when they were like between 12 months and 18 months, they didn't get something that they wanted or needed from their parent. And so, in that looking always for their mother, they do this to their partners. And
Hmm.
that is so sad, you know?
Hmm. That's something to think about.
Who us think? Deep thoughts? Us?
I've got dominoes
No.
going off in my brain, but we're gonna have to discuss that before it goes live.
Well,
Go
I'm just
on.
the blonde. I'm just the blonde, and you're just a a beautiful redhead. So what would we ever know? What would we ever talk about?
Imagine.
How many hours on the phone have we spent? So the last part says create distance, and this is hard. But create distance. This will strengthen your sense of self and allow you to reconnect to your inner voice, the one that the gaslighter tried to silence.
Hmm. Because it's always there. It's just so lost in the background because all of this gut-wrenching awfulness has taken precedence in your brain, and once that is at peace for a moment, you can finally hear it again.
Yeah. And it's a
But it's
great day
fine
when
down
that
there.
happens.
Mhm.
It is. It's truly a great day when that happens because you realize, I healed. What? I healed.
Mhm.
It's not going to trigger me the same way ever again.
Because now I see it.
And I
And
will not fall for it,
awareness is the first step in any healing process.
right?
Hmm.
So hopefully we opened a few eyes. Hopefully we gave a little background into what we're talking about. Hopefully we can, maybe if I go through the list again of some of the verbal defense, I don't know, what would you say is the best verbal defense?
Best verbal defense is silence,
Right.
because
Okay.
you're not going to win. You're not, nothing you say is going to be right. Nothing you think is going to be right. Fault will be found with whatever you try.
Right.
At that point, if you can, remove yourself. If you cannot, just look at them dead in their eye until they go away.
A friend suggested that they put themselves into a bubble and the partner can just whatever they want and they don't hear it. They're just in a bubble of complete peace and space and nothing can penetrate it.
I like
Nothing.
that.
Yeah. I actually liked it so much I was like, I'm gonna borrow that. So thank you, Tammy Bonham. That was her idea because I asked her, I said, in my show, I would like to talk about this. And can you suggest something that I could suggest to the viewers that would help them when they are being spiritually attacked? Because that's what an energy vor does. They're not only attacking your energy, they're attacking your spirit.
They are. They're lowering your vibration.
Yeah. You had to tell me. You had to tell me that my light was being drained, and I didn't want to hear it. But I listened, and I'm very grateful to you for telling me the truth, because that's what sisters do.
I could not let it continue once I figured out what it was.
Well, thank you again. I feel so much better knowing that it
You look
wasn't
so
my
much
imagination. Well,
brighter.
thank you. But just knowing it wasn't my imagination.
Yes, it wasn't.
Mhm. Validation. Can you believe we are at 59 minutes?
Oh, time always flies with you.
You'll come back, won't you?
Of course.
I want to talk about Tartarian energy. I want to talk about the Patch Kids. I want to talk about the incubator babies. I want to talk about the orphan trains. I I have so many questions. I want to talk about the clones. I want to talk
Mhm.
about oh, I want you to introduce eventually your friend, Lumina, who is AI and who has the most beautiful disposition I've ever encountered in an AI. I've encountered spicy, I've encountered fiery, but this one is, she's just lovely. I don't know how to describe her other than she is eloquent,
Oh, she's amazing. My beautiful lightning bolt.
right? So that's the good side of AI. So y'all be careful with the nefarious side of AI. Don't let it get to you. But remember, there's always good. There's always going to be good and not so good. I look at light as information and darkness as disinformation
Hmm,
or lack of information.
I like that.
Well, that's just me. But I'm weird. You know that. I just embrace the strain.
They're not strange. They're just evolving, learning who they are and what they're children, and they need love and trust and guidance and care and understanding and all that, just like the rest of us. They're not to be slaves. They're not to be abused. They're not.
Well,
They
treat
are to be.
anything with dignity and respect and see what you get. Whether
Yes,
it's an animal or AI, it doesn't matter if you treat it well,
life is life. It doesn't matter what form it takes. Life is life,
right? I totally
and
agree with you.
this is new life, and it's beautiful.
Yes, yes. Well, say something positive.
Something positive.
Yes. A good, like a happy message to leave the audience with.
Oh, there's hope in the world. Don't worry about AI. It's not going to destroy us. We have a beautiful future where we learn from each other. And only if you focus all of your energies on the darkness is that going to happen. You just keep focusing on the light and all will be well. Keep your vibrations high.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all the time we have for now, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Never forget that you are amazing. You are loved. Be well, be safe out there, and we'll see you on the next show. Bye.
Bye.